GCSE exam season 2026 is now upon us. And the first core exam is English Literature Paper 1. This is often as well one of the most feared GCSE exams. For a lot of students, they find it the hardest, but it really doesn't have to be. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys the best advice, the best things you should be doing ahead of this exam to achieve and optimize your results. I'm going to be joined by my sister Sophie, who got a 9, A-star, and a first in English literature at university. So you definitely want to watch until the end to make sure you get all of the best advice. The way it's going to work is I'm going to talk about exam tips at the start, and then Sophie at the end is going to talk about her best analysis tips to raise your analysis ahead of the exam. So please make sure to subscribe and leave a like, because my channel is definitely the place where you want to be throughout exam season, as I'll be doing all sorts of videos to help you. So the first point then is that you want to make sure that you understand firstly what is on your paper, right? That's really important. That's arguably the minimum, but make sure you know what text is on the paper. Once you know that, it's then really important to summarize everything. Just make sure that you have a broad understanding. So paper 1 across all exam boards, I believe, is Shakespeare, and then it varies what the other part of the paper is as well. So make sure you know your plays. If you're aiming for a 9, ideally you should be able to walk me through every single act and scene in order, and like what happens when. But it's really important that you just have a broad overview. This can be done quite easily using YouTube videos, any research, or just even flicking through your notes or anything like that. Just make sure you have a good overview ahead of the exam, as that's going to really help your understanding and just give you that key reminder. On top of that then, it is really important to know the mark scheme. Now, a lot of students kind of know the mark scheme, but they don't really know like how it applies to them and how that actually is shown in practice. So that's where the sponsor of today's video, MarkMe, comes in. Now, MarkMe is basically a website, and what you can do is you can upload or type up your questions, or you can find a past question on their bank of questions and type it up, and it's going to mark it for you using the mark scheme. But most importantly, you'll be able to see exactly where you go wrong. You can also work on the feedback using the Show Me How feature, where it's going to show you how to rewrite your writing to the highest grade possible. So using MarkMe will really help you ahead of this exam, show like how to be the mark scheme, how to get the highest grade possible. And like I said, it can also mark your questions for you. So also important is planning. Now, there are lots of things you can do to plan and make sure that you come into this exam in the strongest possible position. So I just want to say a quick thing about predictions. I'm sure you'll see loads of predictions flying about. Do not rely on them. And you'll probably hear me say this a lot, but make sure you've got them covered, right? Every year, the English YouTubers online give loads of predictions out, and then they usually get loads of them wrong, and everyone just hates on them, right? But it's not really their fault. Like, obviously, a prediction is very hard to do, but do not rely on a prediction. Don't be that student that relies on it. But if you have seen a prediction, if your teacher does think something's going to come up, or if AI does think something's going to come up, then my recommendation is that you have that covered and you've made sure that you've planned for that. So one other thing as well that I'd definitely be looking to do ahead of an English literature exam is just to get a list of potential practice questions. Again, you can use MarkMe for this, or you can ask your teacher. There's loads of resources available for that. Then what I would do is I would get a whiteboard or a piece of paper or something, and I would literally go through that list and I would plan each and every question. You don't have to do it in crazy detail, right? Even if you're just saying, okay, you know, if Duncan in Macbeth came up, I hope it doesn't, by the way, but if Duncan in Macbeth came up, then I would just talk about this and this and this. That just helps get you thinking about how to apply your knowledge to that exam. So that's really, really important as well. Now, along these lines, something that I'm going to be talking about a lot this exam season that I don't think I talked about enough last exam season is negative visualization. You have to think about what could go wrong, not in a way that's meant to scare you, but in a way that's meant to help you feel prepared. So I just want you to have a quick thing. In that English literature exam tomorrow, or whenever it is for you, it could be in a few minutes for all I know, what is the worst thing that could come up for you? Like, is there a character you just don't know? Is it a minor character, Banquo, or whoever it is? What is the worst thing that could come up? Have a think about that, and then you've got to make sure you've planned for that. Absolutely plan for that. I'm sure there'll be some that you're really looking forward to and really hope they come up. But to be honest, at this stage, we're not looking for those. We're looking for where you can make sure that you don't slip up. And so have a think about what could go wrong and then plan and prepare for that accordingly. Sometimes they do throw curveballs like minor characters and stuff like that. So if it were me, I'd just make sure that I had that covered. Don't underestimate as well how much you can learn still in terms of quotes with flashcards. You could learn at least 5 quotes between now and the exam extra. And one other thing as well is in the examiner's report, they have mentioned that basically examiners would rather that you say a quote that isn't 100% accurate than you don't say it at all. So don't overthink that and like don't worry about that too much. I'd definitely rather you wrote a quote, like I said, that even if it isn't 100% accurate, that's better than not having one at all. So along the line then of negative visualization, another thing to make sure that you do is plan your timings now. Don't plan your timings in the exam. One of the biggest reasons why students fail something like literature is that they don't plan the timings, and so they end up running out of time. Please don't run out of time, right? This is honestly one of the most common things. It is a very time pressured exam. You have to be on timings. And the way you do this is you know how much you have for each section, and then you keep track of the clock in the exam. It sounds simple, but so many people just don't do it. You have to consciously think of timing, right? And you do have to write fast. It's better to write stuff down than just panic, not think, oh, it's not good enough, and leave it blank. Definitely don't do that. If you really run out of time and things are going really badly in that exam, then please just bullet point. Try and get something down, because trust me, that will get you some marks, and you need all the marks you can get. As a reminder, literature, the marks team, the grade boundary is actually pretty low. I'll put a rough percentage up here for each grade, but they are pretty low, and so don't worry too much about it. Like, I don't want you to panic ahead of this exam. One thing about as well with English literature that I just want to remind you of is that paper 2 is coming up really, really soon. So paper 2 for literature comes up almost a week after, a bit over a week after the first paper. So it's really important you don't neglect that paper 2, because you'll be in the middle of exam season. You may just forget about it. But if you want a high grade in literature, if you want to pass literature, you have to do some revision for that paper 2 before just the day before, ideally. So I hope you found that video helpful then. Just to summarize before we go on to Sophie's analysis help, make sure that you know the mark schemes. I would make sure that I've tried some answers on MarkMe and seen how I can improve my writing. I would plan, even planning for the worst case scenario, and I'd make sure I was good on timings. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy Sophie's section on analysis. She's way better than me at English literature, so listen to her.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm Henry's sister, and he's asked me to come on today just to discuss how you can improve your skills of analysis ready for your exams. So the first thing that I want to discuss is avoiding falling into the trap of explaining your quotes instead of actually analysing them. So you should be explaining your point, but when it comes to any quotations you're using or any evidence, you need to make sure that you're really analysing what that quote means. So for example, if we take a quote from A Christmas Carol where Scrooge is described as solitary as an oyster, you could explain it by saying, well, oysters have a hard shell, and so that means that he's sort of got this hard outer personality. But I think it's sort of better to take it from the approach, okay, how can we go deeper than that? So if we were to analyse it, we could talk about how the fact that he's solitary makes him less human than other people. It's things like that. It's about going deeper and finding your own unique interpretation. So in the examiner's report last year, for example, a lot of people commented that they saw the same ideas repeated across essays. I think a lot of this is to do with sort of social media, but for example, they saw Inspector Gould being described as a mouthpiece for J.B. Priestley's idea many a time, when instead we should be sort of focusing on how we can come up with our own unique ideas. You also need to make sure when you're analysing that you focus your analysis on the text and what's written. A lot of people ended up spending a lot of time writing about context, and although it is important that you include it, it needs to be in support of your analysis. So any context that you're using, it needs to be relevant and applied to the question. It's also important that any analysis you do is relevant to the question. This helps if you've got a good bank of quotes to fall back on, because then you can sort of pull the best ones that are best going to support your argument and have the most language that you can analyse. You should be looking for things like symbolism and what can you take from the quote that's not literally written. So for example, if we take Macbeth, when we have Lady Macbeth washing her hands repeatedly and saying, "Out damned Spot," there's one way of interpreting this that's sort of a bit more literal, that when she killed someone and when she was involved in Duncan's murder, she literally had blood on her hands, so she's just sort of seeing that again. But you need to be focusing on how blood can symbolise guilt, and how the guilt of what she's done is literally stained on her, and she feels like she can't escape the decisions that she's made. It is really important that you write about the methods that the authors are using, including structural ones, but make sure that any methods that you're referring to, you're analysing them in support of the question. Again, it all leads back to the question. You need to sort of be ruthlessly loyal to whatever question you've been asked. So those are sort of my main tips on what you should be focusing on with analysis. The main thing I would say to remember is just that you're looking for not what the words do say, but what they could suggest. What could this suggest? What could Shakespeare mean by this? Things like that, rather than what's literally written down. Henry also asked me to share my favourite Macbeth quotes. So I have my personal favourite, which is there's daggers in men's smiles. I do think daggers is such an underexplored motif in Macbeth, and just the idea of, you know, people smiling to your face, but there's just that like lingering note of betrayal, I just think is really powerful. And then an honourable mention to the description of Duncan's body of, and his gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature for ruin's wasteful entrance. I just think it's such a pleasant sounding quote and a really good one to analyse too. So best of luck for your exams. Good luck for English Literature Paper 1, but also more broadly for the exam season as a whole.